The Charlotte Ledger Podcast is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Charlotte Ledger Podcast. I'm Ashley Fahey, Managing Editor of the Charlotte Ledger. To find out more about the Charlotte Ledger, visit thecharlotteledger.com. I'm joined today by Charlotte Mayor Rob Harrington, a business litigator and partner at law firm Robinson Bradshaw, who was sworn into office on July 1st to finish out the remainder of former Mayor Vi Lyles' term. The Ledger and other news outlets were given a few minutes each this week to interview Harrington 9 days into his term. So let's get to know Charlotte's 60th mayor a little bit better. So how's it been going so far?
It's been really good. One of the things that I've started out by doing is having one-on-one meetings with council members, and I'm working my way through that process. And they're folks that I've known for years and years and years, and they're folks that I've really begun to get to know during the process, and I've really enjoyed that.
Is there anything, in the first 10 days you've learned that has either surprised you about kind of how government works or learning things from your council?
No, I think no surprises. I think it's reinforced the view that I've had from the outside, and certainly the view that I developed during the process, that folks are really committed to this venture, right? And we're coming at it from different angles. We've got different ideas and different priorities, but it's good to have the reinforcement that folks are working really hard and trying to do the best thing for the city.
I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the, there's been some, not challenges necessarily, but maybe some disagreements on council lately around, more pro-growth, pro-business interests and more community interests. I know you've talked about this a little bit, just about how to balance that. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on how, as a growing city like Charlotte, it's great, there's so much economic prosperity, there's jobs coming here, but then there's also folks who are afraid they're going to get left behind. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've said over and over, and I know others have said this, we're doing something right because we're getting so many people to move here. But we need to make sure that those opportunities and that excitement and that feeling of being a part is shared, not just across the community, but by folks who have been here for generations, who are so important to how we got here. Like, we didn't get here by accident. We got here because there's an existing community that's worked really well and worked well for residents, and we need to continue to work at that. I think if we're not sort of careful, we end up with, us versus them or this versus that I think we just need to work our way through. This city has probably modeled better than any other city, or as well as any city, having partnerships between private sector businesses and the public sector. We need to continue to do that. We're also, we're near 1 million people now, 950,000 people. So it's a more complicated city than it's been in the past because of size and growth. And, rather than kind of looking back, we need to look forward at the opportunities that I think in some ways it's almost like it's a distinction between this and that we need to be cautious about. I think the business sector realizes that their success is dependent upon the success of this community, right? And I think we as a community realize that we've got real advantages because we've got an interested business sector. We need to make sure that individuals' voices are heard and heard throughout the city, and we just have to work at that every day.
Absolutely. And what issue do you think maybe the business community misunderstands about local government? And conversely, what does maybe local government not understand about the business community?
Again, I guess I'd look at it on the positive that we need to continue pursuing the opportunities to work together. And I think leadership in both places, all places, realize that, but we have to model it. It's more opportunity in that sense than challenge, because being in a city that's got these resources is a great place to be starting from. I think we have to make sure we don't sort of fall prey to the sort of dualism that there's business and there's community. It's Charlotte. That's what it is. Right?
Kind of in a similar vein, I know airport workers and labor unions are lobbying for transparency in the process with the ongoing lease negotiations between the airlines and the airport. What are your thoughts on this process, and what does an outcome potentially look like?
The airport has been for generations a crown jewel of Charlotte, right? It is perhaps more than anything else the engine that makes this city and the region work, and we have to jealously guard that. We have run that airport in not just a good but an exceptional way, and we need to continue to do that. And we will. We will, get through the lease negotiations during this year. Continue to reflect our ability to run the Charlotte Douglas Airport the way it's been run. And in that process, though, we need to continue to look for opportunities And parallel to that process, we need to continue to look for opportunities to bring resources to and provide, opportunities for folks who are working there. Much the same as we do across the city, right? I mean, it is, you mentioned it earlier with affordability and opportunity for citizens. The airport's an example of that. And we need to also run a process that folks can look at and say, agree, disagree. It was a process that folks understood was going on and that we engaged in as honest brokers.
Sure. Obviously, you're only about 10 days in the job, but so far, you're getting to know the processes of city government and council and everything else. Is there anything that's emerged as something that's frustration or something that you'd like to change or think about differently as mayor?
No. I mean, I think and I've said this before, the thing that I've really seen is this, you realize how passionate people are. I think there are opportunities for us to continue to build trust. We've got council members who represent very different constituent areas. We've got folks with different sort of political goals in front of them. And we need to be supportive of the community, first of all, and also supportive of each other. And so if we can build on that trust and then maintain, maybe even increase the efficiency and the orderliness of the process so that council members are heard and feel like they're being heard, perhaps more important that their constituents feel like they're being heard. And that on a basic level, if you tune in and watch a council meeting, which is where we act, council acts, and that's where the city goes, that you think, okay, we got, 1 million consumers here, 1 million constituents, and they understand that the business of the city is being conducted well. We need to model that. And I really do think those are opportunities.
Getting back to growth, I just think that's such the Charlotte story. It's a lot of what I've covered in my time covering Charlotte. I'm curious, what do you think good growth actually looks like for Charlotte? And is there a project or initiative, whether it's a city one or something a private sector partner is doing, that you think embodies that?
I think we sometimes lose track of how much our sort of partners are doing. I mean, we need to continue to work closely with the county because we've got, somewhat different areas that are our focus. We need to work well together. We need to support and promote the work that our partners, nonprofit and others in the community are doing. I'd much rather be in a city that's growing. And I think we're really fortunate, we're blessed to be in a city that folks on the outside see as attractive as it is. And we make sure that we don't stifle that inadvertently while making sure that with growth bring, logistical issues that we have to work through, brings additional capital that we need to make sure is sort of benefits the entire community. But I'd much rather be in a city that's growing fast than a city that's, suffering from a lack of growth or negative growth.
Is there a project that you see here that you'd like to see more of or an initiative that you think could be replicated elsewhere in Charlotte?
Project that we see here being here in the...
Either an investment or something that, whether it's something the city has established with affordable housing or economic mobility or any of the kind of priorities of the city.
I look at what we've done with the Housing Trust Fund, and I think that's a great example of working to invest in affordable housing in communities. I think we need to continue to explore other ways of doing that, of making investments in communities. And we need to make sure we're highlighting the work that, you miss people when you go down the list, but from a roof above to groups that are bringing, development to different parts of town and groups that are working on logistical support, expertise for nonprofits. We need to make sure the city writ large thrives, not just government.
And then I have to kind of wrap things up. I have a few kind of rapid fire style questions to ask you just so folks can get to know you a little bit better. Is there one uncomfortable truth about Charlotte that you think leaders don't talk enough about?
I wouldn't call it an uncomfortable truth. I think we need to continue to work in making sure voices are heard and believe that they're being heard. I think there's room for growth there, definitely in the perception of having a voice in the future of the city.
And what's your favorite pie in the sky idea for Charlotte?
Oh, pie in the sky idea. I just love the idea of Charlotte being an example for what a growing city in this part of the country looks like. And I think that's that partnership that we need to continue to work on between, folks who are coming to the city and investing in the city and folks who are here.
And if you had one day to show someone what you would consider the real Charlotte, where would you take them?
Oh, good question. It would be, I have to pick a neighborhood, but two of my favorite institutions are the Gantt and the Gantt Center, named for, our dear former Mayor Harvey Gantt. And I love the Levine Museum of the New South, but there are so many places that you can take folks to show art. I was the chair of the Arts and Science Council Board many years ago. And one of the things that I think we were all proudest was not just the support we brought for the large organizations, but the support that we brought for folks who were artists in particular communities. And so maybe we do a bus tour and see a little bit all of that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Is there a city you admire, and what idea from that city would you maybe want to see Charlotte try to replicate?
I like Charlotte best. I love what a lot of cities are doing. I mean, I look at the growth in places as disparate as Oklahoma City to, you'd have to pick some other cities that really pop out. But I think the mid-sized cities, I mean, I look at what's going on in the Triangle area here. And they're working on growth and how you handle transportation and growth. But there's just so much good going on there.
Sure.
And I'd love to look at some smaller places, right, that don't necessarily pop up on the radar screen. But what's happening in relatively smaller cities that are making them successful as they're on this arc?
One final question, and I guarantee you no one else is going to ask it. Did winning the Charlotte Ledger's 40 over 40 award in 2020 contribute to your success and now position as mayor?
Absolutely. It was a highlight. No, look, none of us hopefully take for granted any time that someone says you've hopefully done something pretty cool. And I think creating more opportunities for recognition for people is really important because there's so many people doing good work and not everybody, sort of is the pick a thing, right? And so the work that you guys have done and others have done to recognize some people earlier in career and sometimes later in career is really important. People need to be recognized and thanked. It's human nature.
Well, there you have it, folks. So Rob Harrington, the mayor of Charlotte, has just officially endorsed the 40 over 40 award. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. That's it for today. Thanks for listening. For more information about the Charlotte Ledger, visit thecharlotteledger.com. This episode was produced by Tony Messia.
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.